now we get to see how the teams Goolsby also proposed that each team play a disco 12 games against the 7 other teams in that division. So far, the Los Angeles Angels, all three, and the number 2 the AL. Now, I'm very certain you noticed this brown P, but that's 12. So you better believe I was going to make my favorite team, the Oakland Athletics, win the World Series. Every so often I ask myself, why do I keep remaking my ideas and predictions videos so often? If you're asking that same question, well, you're asking the wrong guy, because I have no idea myself. But we can worry about that another time. In the meantime, welcome to the video. It's time for me to once again rework my ideas, predictions, and overall proposal for a Major League Baseball expansion to 32 teams. Let's take the field and play ball. Now, this is version 2.1.0. So that means this video is based heavily on the previous video. If you have not seen that, I urge you to go do that first. The link is down below in the description. I will give you 5 seconds to stop watching this and go watch that. Still here? Or back from the other video? Alrighty, let's get started. Alright, so first up is the teams and their alignment. As you can see, I've only made 3 total changes. I still have the American League and National League with 4 divisions per league: Pacific, West, Central, and East. So what are the changes? I'm gonna go ahead and start with the American League. As you can see, I have left an opening in the AL East, which would be joined by the Boston Red Sox, New York Yankees, and Baltimore Orioles. So how do we fill the gap? Well, one option is the Tampa Bay Rays, but we kind of have to be realistic with this team. They could not even sell out Game 3 of the ALDS, and I don't even think they sold out Game 4 either. So, at this point, relocation is probably on the horizon for them. So now for the million-dollar question. Where would they go? Well, we already know about Portland, and if you remember back in June, the Rays got the green light from MLB to explore the idea of splitting future seasons between St. Petersburg and Montreal. But wait, that's not all. Nashville recently came out with renderings for their own Major League Stadium, which would be built right next to Nissan Stadium, which houses football's Tennessee Titans. All things considered, what do I think is going to happen? Well, at this point, it's probably going to be that the Rays relocate to Portland and change their name in the process, because there ain't no Rays native to the state of Oregon. And I think it's also worth saying that Portland was giving the Rays a whole lot of support during the 2019 postseason, so mark my words, it could very well happen. Now I've got to fill that gap in the AL East, and let me be bold in predicting this. I think the team will be based in Charlotte, North Carolina. This one's a pretty tough call though, as downtown is like literally packed, jam-packed. There's like no room anywhere for a Major League Stadium the size of, like, say, Oracle Park or something like that. The only way I could see Charlotte building a Major League ballpark is to tear down their current ballpark, which houses the AAA Charlotte Knights. But more, they would also have to tear down those apartments across the street. I don't see them being able to build a full-size Major League Stadium without doing so. But that's not to say that they can't build new apartments and integrate them with the new ballpark. After all, Rogers Center in Toronto has an entire hotel built into the outfield. And now that I'm done rambling about stadium location, what am I calling this team? Well, for that, I need to take you to the border. That's right, I have taken you to Carowinds, as I have named this team after one of the coasters in this park. It is absolutely ginormous. It stands over 300 feet tall and has been named the best steel roller coaster in the world. Yes, the world, for 4 years running. including this year. Can you take a guess at what it is? No? Alright, I'll show you. This is the roller coaster in question. The park calls it Fury 325, which means the team is called the Carolina Fury. Out of all the team names out there, I think this one is the best team name. Period. Hands down. No discussion needed. And with that, we can move on to the National League. First, the most simple of changes. The Miami Marlins have changed divisions. They are no longer in the NL Central, but rather back in the NL East. So, who would take the place of the Marlins in the NL Central? Well, I talked about it a little bit earlier, and that team would be based in Nashville, Tennessee. Now, I've got to admit, this design is pretty cool and all, but I do see persistent problems with the rendering, and it has nothing to do with the design. Is it the team name? No, it's a minor issue, but we'll get to that later. But let me switch over to another rendering and show you what the problem is. So, do you see it now? What, still no? Come on, this is simple. The batter would be facing southwest with this orientation. Now you're probably thinking, but GCD, the sun sets in the west, so what's the problem? Well, late into the season, and especially into October, the sun actually sets more southwest than just regular west. So, that is going to cause a lot of problems for the batters, especially during day games. But here's the good news. The people trying to get this stadium built do acknowledge that there will be issues with sun orientation. So, let's hope that they can get this all figured out in due time, should baseball decide to expand to Nashville. Okay, so let's talk about this team name. Music City Baseball is the group trying to get this stadium built, and they're calling this team the Nashville Stars, the very same name of a Negro League team from back in 1942. However, I'm not exactly fond of this name, and it's not because of the Negro League. It's actually more to the fact that there is already a sports team in the sports world with that team name, and they play in Dallas. Let's just be honest here. The Nashville sounds like a better team name. Pun half intended. Now, in a previous baseball expansion prediction video, somebody suggested the idea of going with North, South, East, and West as divisions. So, to be fair, I decided to give it a shot and see how it would look. And I quickly realized, holy snap, there are a lot of problems with this, but we'll talk about those later. Let's just get to building. So first up is the American League West, and there are absolutely no changes. It still has the Oakland A's, the LA Angels, the Seattle Mariners, and the Portland Otters. I can tell the same story for the National League West, still having the San Francisco Giants, LA Dodgers, San Diego Padres, and Arizona Diamondbacks. But this is where the big changes start to happen. The American League North has the Cleveland Indians, the Chicago White Sox, the Detroit Tigers, and the Minnesota Twins. And the AL North's National League counterpart has the Cincinnati Reds, the Chicago Cubs, the Pittsburgh Pirates, and the Milwaukee Brewers. In the American League South, we find the Houston Astros, the Texas Rangers, the Kansas City Royals, and the Carolina Fury. And on the National League side of the South, we find the Miami Marlins, the Colorado Rockies, the St. Louis Cardinals, and the Atlanta Braves. When it comes to the AL East, we have the Boston Red Sox, the New York Yankees, the Baltimore Orioles, and the Toronto Blue Jays. And finally, the NL East has the Philadelphia Phillies, the New York Mets, the Washington Nationals, and the Nashville Sounds. The pros about this alignment are that every team's interleague rival is in the same respective division as that team. A's and Giants, Angels and Dodgers, Twins and Brewers, Fury and Braves. You get the idea. But there are some major cons with this, and it deals with the Cubs and the Cardinals. Currently, they are division rivals, but with this alignment, they would no longer be. On that note, I am going to pose the question to you. Which alignment do you think would be ultimately the better option for expansion? Pacific, West, Central, and East? Or North, South, West, and East? Oh god, I'm glad that's over with. Let's quickly move on to the schedules. I'm going to make this a very snappy recap of the last video. In short, the schedule would be shortened from 162 games to 156 games. When playing your divisional opponents, each team would host one set of 2 games, one set of 3 games, and one set of 4 games. When playing teams outside of your division but still in the same league as you would end up playing a total of 6 games against those teams. However, in some cases you may end up hosting only 2 games, or you could host as many as 4. But here is where the big changes come into play. In the last video, when it came to interleague play, I suggested one set of home and away games per team, unless you were playing your interleague rivals division. Then you would play 2 sets of home and 2 sets of away. As you can see here, the A's have 2 sets of 4 games at home, one against the Giants and the other against the Dodgers. And they have 2 sets of 2 at home, against the Giants and the Padres. 2 sets of 2 games away, Giants and Dodgers. 2 sets of 4 away, Giants and Padres. And finally there's a set of 3 at home and 3 away, both with the Arizona Diamondbacks. But shortly after making that video, something hit me. This style of scheduling would completely break the schedule if the divisions were Pacific, West, Central, and East. Turns out, this could only work if the divisions were North, West, South, and East. If the divisions were the other way around, it would end up looking like this. That's the only way the schedule could fully work for everybody. And in case you were wondering, the answer is yes. The same basic rule would apply to interleague divisions that your rival is not in. And finally, we have the postseason, the playoffs. Here's a quick recap of how it looks in the previous video. So basically, there are 8 teams participating in the playoffs. Seeds 1, 2, 3, and 4 are the division winners, and seeds 5, 6, 7, and 8 are the wildcard teams, who were second place in their division. Now, I'm not going to bore you about who's who in this American League playoff. I'm just going to put them all up on the screen. Oh, and one more thing, we are using the Pacific, West, Central, and East alignment for this postseason. Now let's do the same thing for the National League. There, perfect. So we're starting off with the first series of the playoffs, and it is fittingly called the League First Series, LFS for short. In the LFS, the first team to win 2 games advances. Here's our ALFS winners and the NLFS winners. So the winning teams now have to duke it out in the League Division Series. The first team to win 3 games moves on. The next challenge for our winners will be the League Championship Series. The first team to win 3 games wins the league's pennant. So we had the Oakland A's taking on the Portland Otters, and as you can see, the A's came out on top. And the Carolina Fury were able to pull off an upset and eliminate the Astros. Cheers. Back in the National League, Atlanta was able to take down Philadelphia to move on to the NLCS. And the Nashville Sounds were able to take down the Chicago Cubs to move on. And this takes us to the World Series, a best 4 games out of 7. Our American League representative is the Oakland Athletics, and our National League representative is the Atlanta Braves. And of course, when you dictate how the bracket turns out, you get to make your favorite team win it all. So of course, I'm going to make my favorite team, the Oakland Athletics, win the World Series. But seriously though, AL West, you better look out in 2020. The A's are hot and they are coming for that AL West championship. Well, there you have it. My updated ideas and predictions for a Major League Baseball expansion. If you liked this video, please drop a like, And if you like predictions videos, I do them from time to time, so subscribe for more. And to my subscribers, I shall see you in the next video, whatever it might be. Take care.